We are going to finish strong today with our last session, Don't Sleep on Retention. We have Laur, Fiatoa, the Director of CRM at Helix, and Rosa, VP of Product Marketing at Yotpo. So thank you and welcome, and we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you all today. I'm Rosa I'm VP of Product Marketing at Yotpo. If you're not familiar with Yotpo, I'll just do a quick introduction and then we'll focus on our special speaker here. So Yotpo is let me just quickly get to, we prepped our own slides and all that. We are a retention marketing platform for e-commerce brands. We have solutions in reviews, visual UGC, loyalty, SMS, subscriptions, and email. And we kind of put together this platform to help merchants bring customers back to purchase, one, build lifelong relationships, and our mission is to help merchants have all of their sales come from, 50% of sales come from repeat shoppers. So that's our mission at Yotpo. We work with incredible clients like Laur from 3Z, and I want to give you some time to talk about your role, what you do for 3Z, and tell us a little bit about 3Z.
Awesome. So I'm Laur. I'm the Director of CRM at 3Z Brands, which is a family of brands in the D2C, retail, and wholesale mattress business. We are fully integrated manufacturer, which is really exciting because we get to really get into the nuts and bolts of the entire idea of building mattresses for customers and the purchase journey for our customers. I specifically focus on CRM, which for us that means retention, acquisition, lead gen, and hopefully loyalty.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. So tell us about the, what is it like managing D2C for such a big portfolio of mattress brands?
It's interesting. I started at Helix 5 years ago, and obviously through that time it's matriculated to such a larger company, and so it's developed into almost a kind of portfolio of brands, almost like you work at an agency. And so it's very interesting where you can kind of own from soup to nuts the entire process, and it's a lot of learning and knowledge sharing, it's really amazing.
Cool. Before we even continue with that, let's talk about retention and all that, I definitely want to also give you a shout out for being one of Yotpo's Amazing Women in E-Commerce honoree in 2021. For those of you who are not familiar, ALWE, as we like to call it, is a community of women in e-commerce who have done exemplary things. And every year we have nominations for women in e-commerce. And for every nomination, we donate to Girls Inc. as well. So 2024 nominations are opening up. We would love for all the amazing women in here to join our community, join us on Slack. But I'd love to understand from you, what has being part of this organization meant to you?
Honestly, I was just so honored because it provides such an interesting networking opportunity for women that are coming up in the e-commerce space. It's also led to great relationships like this, but then also I've connected with, someone that I'm mentoring now, which is it's really a deep and really fulfilling relationship.
So glad to hear it. So yes, please join us. So let's talk about retention a little bit. I mean, for mattresses, it's a very high AOV, as we had talked about before. So tell us a little bit about that. What does retention look like for a mattress brand?
It's funny because when you think about retention, subscription comes up a lot, and no one's subscribing to sleep. So right, yeah, true. One thing that we see the value of retention is because the high AOV creates a really high cost of acquisition for the first customer. We want to maximize that profitability and also understanding how we can best serve it, like a customer-centric kind of model. So one thing that we really focus on specifically is how we can provide additional products, for example, like a kid's mattress, at different points in your life. And so you'll sleep your entire life, and we want to be there to help you find the best way.
I love that kind of line of thinking. It's like, yeah, maybe you don't buy a new mattress every X amount of years,
Right.
but you get a larger house, you have a guest room, you
Right.
have kids, and this is the brand that you want them coming back to again and again because they love the experience with you so much.
Definitely. I think that, making a mattress purchase is not a small thing. There's a lot of research, you really have a lot of considerations, especially in the e-commerce space. So we want you to kind of see us as a part of that journey. That way you don't have to kind of go through that whole consideration phase again. You already know that you're going to get the best product possible and have, the best night's sleep.
So at Yotpo, we talk a lot about kind of the first step to retention is making that first very valuable first purchase, right? Your first purchase from a brand is going to be kind of dictates how you interact with them and how you view them for the rest of your life, essentially. So talk to us about that. Where does, what do you do to invest and make sure that they're making a knowledgeable purchase and one that's going to be impactful on their lives when they don't have maybe the ability to go into a store and try it out, right? So tell us about that.
One thing as the D2C mattress space or bed in a box really grew after 2014, I would say, you get a lot of the convenience, but one thing that you sacrifice is the touch and feel of the product, which is obviously critical. So we look at, how you look at any decision you're going to make with a large purchase. What are your friends saying? What do your family members recommend? And so that's one area where Yotpo specifically with the customer reviews are so critical, because I could say this bed feels like a 6 on the firmness scale, and you could be on the same bed and be like, no, it's a 5. And I think that way you're able to kind of use reviews specifically almost like you know the person.
Yeah, so I understand that most of the brands in your portfolio do use Yotpo reviews to help inform that, help consumers make that first purchase. So tell us how you utilize reviews beyond just the purpose that they're there for, which is talking about people's experiences with your mattress.
It's interesting. We see the value of reviews when we talk to our customers. I think one of the biggest things that we really focus on is, many people who are marketers, they have questions, and sometimes the best person to ask the question to is the customer. And so they are always looking at reviews as points of marketing. So we use it for a lot of our content. It's something that, our publishers and our publishing partners also look at. So I think that it's very critical to the entire customer journey.
And you do use our gallery as well, our visual user-generated content. What do people post? I'm curious, how it helps drive, more purchases through the visual aspect.
Yes, it's really funny. One of our top performing UGC is dogs on beds. I think that people love to see a puppy on a bed. It just really does well. So a lot of that time it's dogs, or it's specifically for kids, it's kind of the family sitting on the bed. It's funny. You wouldn't think that it would be a very visually stimulating picture, but sometimes there's this added proof point in which it's this brand is verified. It seems like that could be my dog or something like that. So yeah, it's funny.
I love those stories. I think it's one of those things where for us, it's not just reviews, right? You're getting you're self-identifying as a fan when you leave a review, especially if it's a positive one. So let's talk about the positive reviews for a second. These are the people who are going to be your community. They're the ones who you're gonna want to, maybe have them join a loyalty program eventually. And if you had subscriptions, maybe they would be the ones to subscribe to pillows or something like that. But we wanna talk about kind of the data that reviews has the potential to bring, and where Yotpo also wants to help in terms of making sure that you have the cohort of 5-star reviewers that purchased in the last 3 months, right? And being able to reach out to them and give them campaigns and have them join your loyalty program eventually, all these things. Can you tell us a little bit about how you think of the reviewers who, especially for the positive side, how they're kind of the first step to the rest of the journey with you in terms of retention?
Yes, I think that your 5-star reviewers is your biggest asset for not only just brand awareness, but they're the ones that are really pushing word of mouth. They are also people who are already invested in the brand, and so one of the biggest things for us is we will set up product testing groups, and those are the people that we really kind of connect with. It's not surprising that much of the investment that happens is on the first purchase. And so those customers are the ones that we can go back and tap consistently because we know that they already have a good experience with the brand, and that's where we're able to kind of emphasize and kind of elongate that LTV.
For those of you here in the audience who may be or may not be aware of Yotpo, we started as a reviews company and started to build more products that kind of help with this idea of retention, really centering our products around retention. And right now we're really investing a lot in, how can reviews and the reviewers that our merchants collect, who are so valuable to them, how do we turn that into the valuable data so that you can feed into the rest of your marketing engine, right? That's really what we're trying to do. And ensure that we're providing value for the merchants in terms of like how can you manipulate like this cohort or this segment and like really get them to come back purchase again and again.
Yes, for sure.
So talk to me a little bit more about what you look at when you're evaluating retention. I think it's still one of those things where many brands find that it's very, very important to invest in retention today, but maybe they don't know exactly where to start or what tools they should be using. So can you talk to us a little bit about like your methods?
It's funny, we were so focused on converting these leads because like I had mentioned, we had spent so much, to get them. But as we grew as a company to kind of the family of brands that we have now, it really became a better understanding of, after that post-purchase, what does that customer look like? And so for us, we're obviously looking at, the classic case, LTV. I think that's very important. But it's also kind of understanding how they're moving in between brands and like what they're kind of ingesting post-purchase. So I think for us, it's obviously going to be founded in LTV for sure. But we definitely look at more of a demonstrative view of how that customer kind of can remain a customer with us for a long time.
So I think there's also like when it comes to someone leaving a review for you, there's a difference between someone who clicked 5 stars and say like comfortable versus someone who's like, this is the best sleep of my life. Right. I feel like I'm on a cloud. Can you talk a little bit about how Yotpo might help you collect those reviews and make sure that it's a little bit more meat to those reviews?
Yes, I think, people are very passionate about how they sleep. We've received like invaluable novels, like literal novels from people where it's just like they're hitting on like the coils, the foam. They're just like, this is incredible. Like the side edge support. It's like, how do you even know all this stuff? But those reviews and the ability and like the widget specifically, you're able to kind of really boost them up so that, you're bringing the cream of the crop to the top. You know what I mean? So that's a really huge asset, specifically with how you're able to kind of manipulate the on-site experience.
Yeah, and then what do you do with your less happy reviewers? How do you use that as a brand to ensure that you're improving product or reaching out? What is your strategy there?
Every brand wants to say like, I have 25,000 5-star reviews, and like that obviously looks really great in like a soundbite or what have you, but from a like customer internal perspective, it's really the 3 stars that like will truly take your brand to the next level. Those are the people who have the highest propensity to be converted to a 5-star. And so that's where we gain a lot of our learnings. And we, to your point earlier, we work with our operations team, our customer experience team, all looking at these reviews and being able to draw different insights and looking at the things that customers are saying, maybe about shipping times or what have you, verifying that with our customer experience team and really building strong learnings over time. And I think that trend line and that through line is very interesting if you're monitoring and if you're kind of documenting as you grow.
Yeah, I think reviews is just like a treasure chest of insights that you should be like every brand should be utilizing in the right way, especially when it comes to retaining customers for life. So talk to me about we had briefly spoken about the you're thinking about loyalty programs and why that might be something that the brands want to kind of get into. Talk to me about that. Why loyalty?
I think it's very clear how passionate I am about our customers, and I think loyalty is one way you can give back. To your point, like we see customers come back at a kind of counterintuitive rate, to be honest. It's interesting because the mattress purchase is so it's an investment. And so when we come out with new products like, the Helix Elite, which was launched just a couple months ago, we went to our customers and said, this might be time for an upgrade. You might enjoy this. And so that's kind of how we're able to see the value of our return purchasers, and potentially building out a loyalty program, I think, is something we're very interested and bullish on going into 2024. But again, it's not as intuitive as like a lipstick kit or some sort of other subscription-based model.
Absolutely.
But we definitely see, the give and take and the value there.
Yeah, I think, customers appreciate it, right? Especially
Right.
if they are coming back to purchase for their guest rooms and their
Right.
kids and all, maybe their dogs eventually, right? It's like you want to make sure that you're providing a incentive in
Right.
some way, shape, or form. I think so. That takes us to maybe the commerce next steps, and what we think is a good way to kind of summarize the takeaways from this discussion. So one is collecting those high quality reviews, because that's going to help you. Those are the things that you can utilize to make sound bites out of, turn it into an ad or something like that, where you're saying this is the important things about why this mattress is incredible. Two, we're looking to think of reviews and think about retention as all the data points that you have within your marketing tools and all the things that you're collecting from your customer base. And how can you utilize that data and take that and make it actionable and make it so that you are personalizing to a specific segment, right? So it's not so just let's see what we can get by sending the same thing to every single person, right? We really want to make sure that we're extracting value and segmenting. And then the third thing is to use that data and turn it into a value for the company itself. Make your 3-star reviewers 5-star reviewers. Make sure that you're developing products based on the feedback. Make sure that you're improving your customer experience based on the feedback, because this is where you have so much information about your customer base right in your reviews, and it's something that people are happy to give, like you said, especially if they are writing novels. I don't know if you actually publish those novels, but it's super interesting to hear all the things that you're considering when it comes to your loyal customers and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you have any last tips for anyone outside of kind of what we summarized here for someone thinking about dipping their toe in retention?
I think the biggest thing that I would say is that you don't have to take it all at once. I think that, to your point, the segmentation piece is huge, and you can start out with a really small segment, a small cohort of people, and really begin to develop and mature that relationship, begin to understand through A/B testing or what have you, how that kind of customer post-purchase responds to the media and the marketing that you're kind of putting out there, and grow from that. I think starting with almost a seed list that can essentially matriculate over time will be the biggest asset for any D2C in these very uncertain economic times, to really maximize all the money on the table, essentially, just sitting there.
Absolutely, and I think it is one of those things where retention sounds, how do I get started?
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It starts small, and you start to build a strategy from there. And as you see engagement from your customers, and you see them coming back, and you see the
Right.
strategies working, you can invest in more things like loyalty programs, subscriptions for the models that work, for the products that work with subscriptions really well. But yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for our audience here. I want to thank you so much for joining us
Thank you so much
today.
for having me. It was great to talk.
For everyone in the audience, if you would like, you can download our retention marketing manual as a takeaway in case you have any questions about retention. We are very happy to answer any of your questions at the booth at Yotpo, so come say hi. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.